from my book, The Key to the Castle. My lanky sister Betty, the oldest and tallest of our band of 3 musketeers, walked at the front of our line carrying a spindly stick she picked up on the bank of the creek that ran beside our house. The youngest, I followed next. Bringing up the rear was our family friend, Masha. Most Saturdays, we took the dirt path that led from our backyard to Stevens Park and into the Santa Barbara Hills. Sometimes, instead of taking the path, we cautiously stepped from rock to rock up the dry creek bed, shaded by oak and sycamore trees. We were explorers. We climbed to the top of huge boulders where we discovered smooth holes carved from years of Chumash Indians grinding acorns on the slabs. Sometimes we were surprised by a snake on the trail that shook its angry rattler at us. We ran all the way back home in fear and collapsed on the shaded lawn where it was safe to breathe and explode with laughter. As a teenager, my girlfriends and I rode our bikes the 4 miles one way to Hendry's Beach. We took long walks, talking and sifting through the ups and downs of our lives. We were forever cooking up elaborate plans. One such plan was to roller skate to our first day of high school. We were not accomplished roller skaters, and this was before the day of rollerblades, so it proved to be a long and bumpy trip. We laughed, took some spills, and were surprised how far it was to our new school. We arrived late to the first day of school. Adventures continued until the final day of summer prior to senior year. On that Sunday, we rode our bikes to Montecito and ended up at Butterfly Beach. We sat on the rock wall, watching the crashing waves until the sun set and the moon rose on the ocean's horizon. We composed a ditty with a bouncing rhythm. Does the moonlight tan you in the summertime? Does the moonlight tan you in the fall? Does the moonlight tan you in the fall, fall, fall? In turn, we leaned to the right from the waist and crossed each other's lap as one at a time we shouted, fall. Does the moonlight tan you in the summertime? Does the moonlight tan you at all? We were postponing our final year of high school for as long as we possibly could. Though we didn't talk about it, I think we were afraid that our adventures would soon be ending. What we didn't know or believe on that summer day was that the adventures would not end. Instead, my childhood in Santa Barbara set the stage for the journeys that followed. My travels have taken me to Nepal and to France, Thailand and England, Bali and Canada. Whether hiking, biking, riding on the back of an elephant, or in a rickety bus, the journeys led me to places I could never have imagined. On each trip, I reflected on my life and the lives of the people I met. What is it like to live here? Who am I? What is going on here? Later, I learned that these are also questions that I would reflect on while sitting in meditation at a Zen retreat. What am I? What is this? And discover the answer. Don't know. This chapter is entitled First Meditation Retreat. In 1995, in Berkeley, California, my boyfriend Mark asked me to join him at a one-day Zen retreat held in a rented church sanctuary. Mark and I had been seeing one another for a few months. We met in a 4-week Zydeco dance class taught by Dana DeSimone at Studio Z. The class was fun and prepared me for the Cajun and Zydeco dances that I started to attend at local venues in the San Francisco Bay Area. Mark says he took note of me in that Zydeco dance class, but I didn't take much notice of him. It wasn't until several months later that we met again at a Zydeco dance at the Berkeley Square on a Saturday afternoon. Mark asked me to dance, and after a two-step and a waltz, we began to talk. Our next date was a New Year's Eve Zydeco dance in Alameda. Most memorable from that night was that Mark picked me up in a station wagon that had a child seat in the back. He hadn't told me he had kids. As we approached the venue, I finally got up the courage to ask if he was a father. He looked at me surprised, and then informed me he was house sitting for his professor and had been given license to use the car. Over the next few months, in addition to dancing, we went hiking, shared meals, and slowly began to get to know one another. Mark, being a man of few spoken words, did not tell me much about what would take place at the Zen retreat, and that I didn't ask many questions, at least about that. The main thing I recall about that first retreat was that at certain points during the 30-minute sitting periods, the Zen master stood up and ceremoniously picked up a long wooden stick and walked slowly in front of the seated meditators. If the person sitting gave a slight bow when the Zen master walked past, he hit the person on each shoulder blade with the stick. I didn't understand this at all. Why would anyone want to be hit with a stick? What exactly is going on here? Is this a cult? I never vowed to be hit with a stick during that retreat. After all, I wasn't a masochist. While I didn't have much difficulty sitting on the cushion that day, I also don't recall that the retreat was very significant. It just seemed like something new to try because my boyfriend asked me to join him. I skip ahead. You have got to be kidding. I only told a few people that I would be going on an 8-day silence and meditation retreat, as I didn't think others would understand, or worse, they'd think I was crazy. You were doing what? Sitting in a small room in Berkeley for 8 days and not talking? Why would you want to do that? I could never do that. As it turned out, even the few people that I told didn't know how to respond. I watched them search for the right words, and then at a loss liken it to a vacation, perhaps to an exotic location. Have a great time. I could use a week off right now. I'm jealous. These are some of the send-up comments I received from friends. I smiled and said, thank you. Inside I was thinking, yeah, right, have fun. You've got to be kidding. However, I did not really know what it would be like. I had never done an 8-day retreat. The most I had sat consecutively was a day and a half. I knew that this would be different. I surely was not thinking of it as a vacation. So why in the world would I spend 8 days sitting on a cushion when I could be snorkeling in Hawaii or bicycling in Provence? Some Zen retreats are at least located in beautiful mountain or ocean settings. At this retreat, we would focus on our practice inside the walls of the Dharma room. One of the many questions I asked myself during the first days of the retreat was, what am I doing here? My back hurt, my knees hurt, my neck and shoulders hurt. By the evening sitting period, I was in a lot of pain, and I had a hard time focusing on anything besides the pain. However, after a few days of sitting, the pain became more tolerable, and my mind became clearer. What am I doing here receded from my mind. Over the course of the week, I realized that there actually were similarities between a vacation and a Zen retreat. And here's a haiku. Old people should just be allowed to fly away, my mother declared. And I'll read part of one more chapter. A good day to die. On our third day in Nepal, we were ready to depart Kathmandu for the start of our trek in the Longtong region. The rickety bus arrived at the hotel nook right on time at 8 a.m. As our duffel bags were loaded onto the bus, I noticed the driver and a couple of the Nepali porters kneeling on the ground and looking underneath the bus. The fact that they ended up of the bus should have been a sign of things to come. However, we were excited to begin this phase of our journey, and we didn't think much about it. We climbed aboard along with our porters, cooks, and guides. We didn't have to travel too far out of Kathmandu before we started our ascent along switchback narrow roads. I began to feel nauseous, but I tried to switch my attention to the beauty around me, the terraces of rice and wheat fields. The small, jangling bus slowly made its way up the curving road. The next thing we knew, the driver crashed, albeit gently, into the rock wall on the other side of a narrow road. The good part of this was that we were going slowly and no one got hurt, and that we crashed against the mountain rather than taking us down the steep slope to our right. The puzzling thing was, why did this happen? We surmised that the brakes were not working. Now the front of the bus was dented and the front wheels were stuck in a narrow ditch. For the next hour, the skinny porters, wearing flip-flop sandals or barefoot, rocked the bus back and forth to try and get it unstuck as we looked on. Our guide, Ankami, would not allow us to help. After much effort, the porters managed to push the bus out of the ditch. Now what? We all got back on the bus. What were our choices? We were not far from the town of Trasuli. Ankami told us that the bus would be looked at in this small town. He bought us a lunch of dal bhat tarkari, rice, lentils, and vegetables, as the bus sat outside the small cafe. We did not actually witness anyone doing anything to the bus, other than looking under the hood. But amazingly, we all jumped back on after lunch. Now we were really climbing up a steep, narrow, winding road. The bus driver drove very slowly and tested the brakes frequently. I was scared. The drop-offs on either side of the road were steeper than I had ever experienced. My fellow trekkers and I called it the psycho bus ride from hell. What-ifs occupied my mind, and I created elaborate disaster movies in my head. And then we turned a curve, and before us were the Himalayas. Tall, majestic, snow-covered peaks created a new picture for my thoughts. It was breathtaking. This was what I had been waiting for in the many months of planning. And after our Bangkok pause and preparation days in Kathmandu, we were finally seeing the mythic Himalaya mountains. I said to myself, today is a good day to die. Thank you.